Kids need wholesome snacks to fuel their active bodies and imaginations, like delicious soft-baked Cliff Kid Z-Bar. With energizing whole grains from organic oats and in flavors kids love, it's the perfect portable snack for blasting off to space on the swings at recess. Or exploring the uncharted schoolyard with fellow adventurers. Grab a box of Cliff Kid Z-Bar snacks today, because imagination needs fuel. Learn more at cliffkid.com.
From heading out the door and kicking off your day, to enjoying the refreshing breeze on the beach, when it comes to Seagram's Ginger Ale, we won't tell you when to enjoy it, because it's good at any time. Whether you're catching the latest flick at the movie theater, enjoying a break between meetings, at a family barbecue, or when you're stirring up a drink for friends, or enjoying one on your own, you'll never be disappointed. Wherever you are, Seagram's refreshing taste is always welcome. Seagram's Ginger Ale. Crisp taste, any time or place.
Support for this week's episode of Dad Hard with a Podcast comes from Manscaped. Father's Day is just around the corner, and you probably need a gift for that hairy dad in your life. Make your dad proud this year and get him and yourself the Manscaped Lawnmower 4.0. Which I tried for the first time this week, is now available in the US and Canada. What makes this waterproof trimmer different from all other trimmers? This 7,000 RPM trimmer features skin-safe technology to keep your balls and your chest and your armpits, if you're talking about how I used it, and it has helped reduce manscaping accidents around the world. The craftsmanship and details in the 4.0 are next level. Additionally, guard lengths with sizes 1 to 4 let you trim to your liking. I'm blown away by the performance. I swear, I use it this week. I have no razor bumps. It's incredible. So men, if you've been shaving with that same nut trimmer on your face, you've been doing it wrong. And don't forget, the Lawnmower 4.0 is also waterproof. I used it in the shower. Join the 2 million men who trust Manscaped and get 20% off plus free shipping with the code DADHARD20 at manscaped.com. This is the perfect package for you and your dad's perfect package. Hook him up this Father's Day with our exclusive offer and get 20% off plus free shipping when you include the code DADHARD20 at manscaped.com. Manscaped, your balls will thank you.
Hey, you got him with this one, dog. It's so soulful. Let's take him back. Come on. Hey, remember back in the block, in the summertime when the sidewalk got so boiling hot that the heat from the street almost melt your flip-flops, or burn through your new shoes and leave you with holes in your socks. Us city slickers, there was no watering spots, so we'd head to the corner, Mr. Water would not
do-dadders, future fathers, potential parents, and everyone else tuning in. This is Dad Hard with a Podcast, and as always, I am your host, Mo Green. I said it last week, I'll say it again. We are just about out of quarantine. I know all us parents are very happy about that. Be able to get out and about, on the scene, in restaurants, going to movies, maybe. I don't know if I'm there yet. But welcome to episode 70 of Dad Hard with a Podcast. Yes, 70 episodes in the books. It is insane. If this is your first time listening, I am just a dad who talks to other dads in hopes that I can help everybody, myself included, be the best dads that we can be, trying to make the world a better place, one dad at a time. And as always, to connect on a fatherhood, brotherhood, shoot us an email at dadhardpod@gmail.com. Follow us on Instagram at dadhardpod, and check out the website wedadhard.com and catch up on the entire Dad Hard catalog. We're almost coming to the end of season 2. That's exciting. 2 seasons almost in the books. That's crazy. But let's get into this week's episode, because it is a full guest episode, and I am so interested in speaking with my 2 guests Yes, guests plural. They're a husband and wife tandem where the wife is actually a professional surrogate to other people's children, helping them out, helping people that can't have children or don't necessarily want to put their bodies through pregnancy. We'll get into your story in a minute in specifics of that, but she is a professional surrogate. I have both her and her husband here. She's actually part of a surrogacy agency called Nessa. I am extremely interested to have this conversation with you guys because as we spoke about before we started recording, I, like your husband, also need to understand the mentality behind this because it's such a drastic thing to put your body through so many times. But we're going to get into all of that. So with no further ado, let me welcome another set of Greens, Chris and Ashley Green. How are you?
Oh, amazing.
Yeah, we're doing good here.
Fantastic.
From all this pandemic stuff.
I know, man. It's been really, really, really nuts. I'm sure with 3 kids of your own, it's also probably been pretty nuts. Has everybody just been locked in the house this last year and a half?
Yeah, yes. And, well, there are times where it's just like, all right, kids, go outside. I don't care. Just go outside. we need a break. All right, get out there.
How old are the 3 of your kids?
We have our daughter's 11. Our oldest son is 8, and our youngest son is 6.
Oh, wow. So they can really just go outside and entertain themselves at any given time. That's like perfect. I feel like that's like pretty perfect ages for this pandemic when you have to be locked in because you can kind of just let them go off on their own a little bit.
Oh, a little bit, yep. Yeah. Perfect age for getting in all kinds of trouble.
Exactly. Perfect age for that. So in addition to having 3 kids of your own, Ashley, you have been a surrogate for 3 others.
Yes.
I need to wrap my head around this experience. You know, what got you into wanting to be a surrogate? Did you just like love being pregnant with your own kids? So now you just wanted to do it as much? What got you into that world?
Well, when we were pregnant with our second child, so our oldest son, we had an acquaintance who was pregnant at the same time as me with a surrogate baby. And that was the first time it had ever even crossed my radar, surrogacy. It's not something widely talked about. And with her being pregnant, we were pretty much pregnant like right at the exact same time. Yeah. So we went through everything together. For me, it was my second pregnancy. It was her 6th. And yeah, her first surrogacy is 6th baby. And, you know, it was for me, I was seeing everything that she was going through. And I'm like, that's just astounding that you would give that to somebody else, you know. But in surrogacy, it's always highly, highly recommended that you are done growing your own biological family before you start doing a surrogacy journey, because surrogacy can lead to secondary infertility in the surrogate.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so they always advise you're done having your own babies before you go on to giving that gift to another set of parents. And we knew that we weren't done after 2, so we put it on the back burner. I mean, this was 2013, so it was one of those, we're just going to wait, we're going to get done with our family, and then we will come back to it. And when we came back to it, our youngest was 1. And at that point, too, I was kind of like, you know, we still need to wait. I want to wait until he's somewhat self-sufficient. I say somewhat because even still, it's, Mom, can you make me mac and cheese?
Of course.
And I'm like, oh, my God, okay.
Your dad's sitting down.
I know. Yeah. He's doing nothing.
See, when it got brought up the first time, she was pregnant with our oldest. And I was kind of thinking, maybe she'll just drop it. You know, it'll get lost in the times. And then after Colin was born, and then she brought it back up again, and then it was like, well, maybe we should wait a little bit longer for the kids to be more mature. And then I'm thinking, oh, maybe this just isn't going to happen. All right. I'm not going to worry about it at all. And then she brought it up to me. I'm just like, are you serious? Are you nuts? Again, still?
Here we are.
She chipped away at me and chipped away at me and chipped away at me. And finally I was like, you know what? If this is really what you want to do, all right.
So actually, what was it about being a surrogate that got you wanting to embark on that journey and that lifestyle?
So the crazy thing is when Chris and I first started dating, we started dating in 2001. So we have been together for darn near 20 years.
20 years.
Yeah. I mean, it's been a ride, that's for sure. And when we first started dating, and even, it took us 10 years to have our first child together.
Oh, wow.
We didn't want kids.
We didn't want it.
Really?
Yeah.
Wait, this throws a whole wrinkle into the story. That's insane.
Yeah, it really was. It was just more along the lines of, this world is crazy. People are crazy. And I don't know if I want to bring more people into this world that just seems to be getting scarier and scarier,
Sure.
if that makes sense, And there was also several couples around us who seemed to have kids, and then their relationship would just crumble.
Yeah, they were miserable. They just seemed like they were only together for the kids. And for us, I mean, that's just like,
Why?
you don't understand that, most of them were young at the time, but they're going to grow up, and then they're going to realize that their parents are miserable.
Sure.
And even for us, our childhoods weren't the greatest. So it's just like, no, I don't think we want to do that. And we were really young when we got together, and we explored the world, the country. We got to see the world a little bit, and then it's just like, okay, we settled down. I got into my career, and then she was getting into her career, and it's just like, something just seemed like it was
missing. Yep, I know exactly the feeling.
Then we came up with the decision. She stopped birth control. And then what is birth control again?
What's that thing called?
So she stopped taking that, and we were thinking like, this might not happen. We'll just see what happens.
Yeah.
And it's just a week later, boom, she's pregnant. I'm just like, what did I do? Walk past her and sneeze on her? Or something? I'm just like, are you nuts? This happened fast. I was at work, and I got the phone call, and it was just like, it was like in the middle of the day.
It was late.
It was late morning, and it was just like, I got a phone call to call her, and I had no idea what it was. So I called her, and she told me, and I'm just like, oh my God, a Big Mac truck just hit me.
Yep.
Full on. So when I got home, she met me at the driveway, and then I'm like, I'm still kind of freaking out, and I think she's still kind of freaking out. Then we sit down, and I think at one point I cried, and then she cried. It was just all kinds of emotionals. And then we brought the baby home, and that was the most wreckingly drive home.
You've never driven so carefully.
Oh my God. I was at 10 and 2. It was like driver's ed all over again.
100%. My wife's dad drove us home from the hospital, and sorry Joel, but I'm gonna put this out there. We all make fun of the fact that he basically drives so slow it's backwards. I've never been happier to have him driving a car than when we came home from the hospital with my daughter. I was like, Joel, you keep that backwards driving going. Do not stop that now, because we need to be as safe as possible. So I completely understand. So once you have that kid and you're transporting it, it's just like everything else. You just want to put everything in a bubble and and make sure and do everything you can to keep that bubble in full tact. So Chris, I feel you 100% there. I'm fully in agreement with you.
And a car gets too close, I'm like, hey, you just back off there, man.
I mean, and it was like the very first time that we saw her, it was like, what the hell were we waiting for?
I know. Yep. I cried when the nurses were cleaning her up, and then I cried during the cutting of the umbilical cord, and then Mom got to hold her, and then she held her for a long time, started the breastfeeding, and then I got her, and then it was just, everything else around me shut off. It was just me and her in the chair.
Yeah.
Falling asleep. Must have been nice.
Yeah, right. You're right, because you don't get to sleep. You don't get to sleep during once that baby pops out in the first place.
2 years.
Yeah. But I mean, I think that was the point where we realized, this actually is something amazing, and it really was that. What the heck were we waiting for?
Yeah.
And so for me, going back to your question originally, like, why would you do that? Giving that feeling to somebody else, I always say there's not enough words in the English language to describe the feeling of seeing the parents with their baby for the first time and knowing you are the reason that they're holding that baby.
Wow. That's such a beautiful, that's such a beautiful thought process to have. That's incredible. So you're just actually truly just an incredible person. That's why you do this.
Thank you. Everybody always asks, do you do it for the money? And I'm not, no, you don't. That is not why you're doing it. One, if you're thinking about the pay on something like this, you are pregnant 24/7. It's not a 9-to-5 Monday through Friday job. You are pregnant 24/7.
Oh yeah.
And break down any kind of compensation. It's pennies per hour. Pennies.
Yeah.
There's other jobs that are way less stressful. They pay a lot more.
Yeah. For sure.
So, yeah, and it's one of those things where that's not why we're doing it. We're not doing it for the compensation. We're doing it to give this gift to people who never thought that they would have babies.
You're in for one terrible roller coaster ride if you're just in it for the money.
Oh yeah.
You can't. I don't think you could.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree. I agree with you. Now, obviously, I've never been in that position, right? My wife's not a surrogate. I don't know. You guys the first ones I've ever met personally. But I can imagine that doing it for the money makes it. You either have to be really desperate for that money, but it's actually probably not worth it because you're putting your body through so much stress, so much emotion, so hormones are all over the place and everything like that. So I feel like this is the reason why one should do it, and it's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful gift that you are able to give to somebody, and that you're sacrificing that toll on your body, your emotions, your hormones, and on your husband, and I'm sure on your kids and all that. It's a big sacrifice to do that, but you're doing it for the right reason, and to sacrifice all that just for a couple bucks. You know what I mean? I'm with you. It's not worth it. So how many months total with across all 6 kids that you've now six kids that you've birthed? How many months total have you spent pregnant?
All of them.
It's exactly the answer I was looking for, Chris. You and me were right here, buddy.
She was pregnant. No.
My God. It's so funny because, oh my gosh, So I've never gone the full 40 weeks in any of my pregnancies, which I think I'm kind of blessed. I've always delivered at 38, 37 weeks. So I've never experienced that full 42 week, oh my God, I'm just done being pregnant. And that's probably why I keep doing it.
Trying to get that experience. You're trying to get that experience. Once you hit that, that's when you've run your course.
Oh yeah. So for me, I'm always I'm uncomfortable. I'm not, I know.
She is basically built for having babies. She is a woman, so that's, there's that. But, it's just, she handles it so well. It's just, it's very blessing for us.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like I said, I sneeze on her and she gets pregnant. So for her to carry babies is very easy. And it just, there wasn't a whole lot of extra work involved that I've seen. I can't really speak for her, but I'm going to. There wasn't a whole lot of extra work. Especially with the first round. That was
with the twins.
Yeah, the first round, the twins, the first journey. It was just
it was textbook perfect.
Really?
She hit every note after note. And then, with our 3 kids, it was almost. There was a little bit with her, especially with her last child. That she was pretty miserable.
I was. I realized after that pregnancy that apparently I'm allergic to peanut butter.
Oh my God.
And that's all I would eat because I'm okay, protein, it's a really good snack. And it didn't hit me until after I had given birth to Colin, and they gave me a piece of toast with peanut butter on it, and I threw up immediately. And I'm it's been the peanut butter this whole time.
Wow.
She lost a lot of weight with her youngest. you would see the transition of first being pregnant, you know, the weight gain and just the changing of the body. Well, hers was the complete opposite.
Yeah.
I mean,
wow.
And it was peanut butter. It was all
she weighed less after the pregnancy than before she was pregnant.
Yeah.
Really?
So, yeah, it was, you could see the change. I mean, her face got so narrower. She lost her chubby cheeks.
Yeah, they're back now.
I mean, it's just, she almost looked unhealthy, really.
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, everything else was healthy, but she just had lost so much weight. And then after the baby was born, she lost so much more weight. And then it was actually a little bit before she started gaining weight again.
Wow.
And so.
Yeah, but I mean, it was just crazy because I'm not like allergic to peanuts. I don't have like any kind of other
allergies or anything.
Allergies.
I think it's the oil that.
Yeah, it's probably the oil. Yeah. Yeah.
I was gonna say because I can eat peanuts and be fine, but it's that peanut butter. It's. Oh, man, I can't believe I went through that whole pregnancy not putting those two things together. Like, oh, you eat peanut butter and you're going to get sick. Hello.
Yeah. Well, so it's funny. It's funny that you mentioned that you know, they recommend for you to not start being a surrogate until after you're finished with your own family. Uh-huh. It's interesting to me that you still decided to go through that after your final biological family pregnancy. I guess that's what we're gonna call it here. After that pregnancy went so harsh, and it was so harsh and so taxing on your body, did you know, like, right off the? I mean, you guys both alluded to it, that after the first time, you know, you talked to your friend who was surrogating a child of another family. I'm just gonna go through all different iterations of what I'm gonna call that process throughout this whole thing. But did the final pregnancy, like, deter you at all from wanting to continue along that path into being a surrogate? Or were you just like, you know, and excuse my French here, but were you just like, fuck it, like, I had this in my mind, like, let's just go, you know?
I think for me it was, as long as I knew what that trigger was. I know it wasn't the pregnancy.
Got it.
You know, it was what I was eating.
Oh, she's just nuts. She's just nuts.
I think it was really just if I can find what it was that was causing me to be sick. I never got diagnosed with hyperemesis or anything like that. It was really just, if I eat peanut butter, I was going to be sick.
Wow.
And I think it's a good preparation for those early stages of pregnancy when you go through that morning sickness, where I knew what I needed to do to keep hydrated at least. So after my last biological pregnancy, I was not sick again.
Really?
Even with the twins or with this last journey. I mean, I was nauseous and things like that, but I never actually vomited with those two pregnancies.
Did you ever vomit at all?
No, not with those two. Yeah. With Colin all the time.
Yeah. So that was gonna be my question. Was like, in relation to the morning sickness specifically, but I guess we can take it from there, since you didn't really have that. You know, with the taxation that it takes on the body and the hormones and motions and all that type of stuff. Did you ever regret the decision to be a surrogate?
Not one single time.
Really?
Not at all.
Once you see, well, for the twins, when we first met the dads, I mean, when we picked them up at the airport, I mean, they were coming out. They called all cars. They brought everything. They came, ran right up to Ashley, gave her a great big hug. They ran right
European,
up to me.
So it was the cheek kisses.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my God.
Oh my God. Okay, what is this?
I mean, there was no. But even though they were in contact with each other, like, daily through the whole process, I had only talked to them a couple times through, like, Skype or emails or whatnot. And then it was just like, they came in like
they were like full board.
Yeah,
boom.
Bam.
Wow.
Right there. And the one dad, as soon as I can almost guarantee, as soon as he seen us, he started crying.
Wow.
And that was my hook. I was hooked, and I was reeled in, and then it was just, all right, this is going to happen. This is going to be interesting. This is going to be great.
So, Chris, you're also an incredible person. Then both of you are just incredible people to think like that, and to really, like, bask in the joy of somebody else, especially somebody else that can't do this by themselves. You know, my mom always tells me a story. Her best friend couldn't get pregnant, and she tried and couldn't. And she was so upset. She was in a state of depression. They lived in Chicago. Her and her husband lived in Chicago. My mom was in New York, and my mom flew out there, and she was almost like ready to like end it all for herself. She was so upset that she couldn't get pregnant. My mom goes to her. She says, "What's more important, having a kid or being pregnant?" And that it changed my mom's friend whole outlook on it. Yeah. They ended up adopting 2 kids, right? They went the adoption route and ended up adopting 2 kids that are incredible human beings. They're amazing. So to be able to give that gift to somebody, just knowing that experience that I've had, you know, that little bit of connection with, you know, it must be so, you guys must really be incredible people, like I mentioned, to really appreciate what you're doing and the gift that you're giving to somebody else, and to be so selfless, you know. And Chris also, I mean, I know, Ashley, it's your body and everything like that. You're going through all the bodily stress, but Chris, to be so on board with that is just absolutely incredible. I don't know if I could do that. I mean, my wife definitely would never even think about being a surrogate, so like that's off the table, but I don't know if I would be able to do that. It takes a really special person from your side, Chris, to be so encouraging and wanting and urging and down and in it all the way to watch your wife go through all of that, especially the fact that she's, you know, been pregnant for 9 years straight or something like that almost, you know.
Dude, you gotta stop. You're about to make me cry. But no. I think what, if it's that first introduction with the dads, if I don't think if they wouldn't have been that strong, if they would have been a little more standoffish, if they were, I don't know, if they weren't so personal up front, I don't think that connection for me in this experience would have been, I wouldn't have had such a motivated effect on me. I just, if it would have been just,
oh, hi, how you doing?
Hi, or a more awkward interaction, you know what I mean? If it was a little bit awkward. I mean,
for us, it was, it's for them, it's their tradition, it's their culture to be that way with, you know, very touchy-feely. Very, very touchy. And if they weren't that way towards us, I don't think I would have been so trapped into this wonderful journeys.
Wow.
And then I don't know if I'd be so inclined to do it again.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But with that power that they gave us, and it just opened up more of a drive for it.
Yeah.
I mean, and then it was just like, all right, okay, whatever the wife or the mother or whatever she needs.
Except for it's not the bathtub.
Yeah.
That is an ongoing debate in our house. I'm like, I can't freaking do it. 36 weeks pregnant. Will you please remember to rinse out the damn bathtub? That's
she
all
just
I
said
want.
to me the other day, yesterday, she goes, if there's any, if I get a divorce from you, it's because of this right here.
It's because of not rinsing out the bathtub. That is, there's always that one thing. There's always that one thing in marriage that just like, if you do this.
It's not me leaving the coffee cup wherever I leave.
It's the freaking bathtub.
Well, it is a big bathtub. I'll give her that.
Listen, it has to be a big bathtub if she, for all the time she's been pregnant and having to get in there to relax herself down. It must be a pretty big tub, you know.
It's a really nice jetted bathtub, so I get annoyed when I have to clean it before I can use it.
You know what? I don't. You know what? I'm with you on this one, Ashley. I'm gonna take her side on this one. That's a glorious tub. It's gotta get cleaned down. Walk me through the actual surrogacy process. How do you meet the potential, the new parents, potential parents, the clients? I don't know what I'm supposed to call them, but the people who you're surrogating for. How do you go about that process, and what's that entire process like? How involved are they? How involved, Chris, also, like, how involved are you in the whole situation? But walk me through that process.
So for our first journey, I went through an agency, not the same agency I work with now. It was God, like Chris said, that journey was just like textbook perfect. It was boom, 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 which is incredibly rare in surrogacy.
Sure.
Like I signed with the agency in April of 2018. And when you sign with an agency, you have to go through a background check and you do a psych screening and they review your medical records. And I mean, it's almost like a super duper like in-depth job interview. Like they want to make sure Chris always calls me crazy, but they want to make sure you're not crazy.
Okay. Which you do probably have to be a little bit crazy in order to just to give up your body like this, but also either crazy or a saint. Either both, a little bit of both, probably.
Yeah. So you go through that intake process with the agency, and they're called intended parents at that point in time, where they're already signed with the agency that you're using. So what happened with us is once we passed their initial intake, the agency sent me parent profiles. So when you apply to an agency, they have some very specific questions they ask you. How do you feel about termination of pregnancy? When would you terminate? What kind of relationship do you want to have during the pregnancy? What kind of relationship do you want to have after the pregnancy? Are you okay with the parents being in the delivery room with you? I mean, it's a very in-depth application process because they want to make sure that all of your views align with all the parents' views as well. Otherwise, you're going to have one horrible journey. So they only sent me profiles from parents who have the same views that I did when I answered those questions. And for me, they sent me, I think it was like 3 or 4 at a time. And I was like, how do you even pick? How do you choose who to give a baby to? But I think when I read the dad's profile, I was just like, these guys sound absolutely wonderful. We got to see pictures of them. When you're a same-sex couple like the dads are, that you're not going to have your own babies, naturally. So for them coming to this process, they didn't experience the heartbreak that, a traditional couple may have experienced coming up to this point. Yep. They live in Spain. I've talked to them about doing all these PR things. And I'm like, how much can I share? How much can't I share type of a thing? Yeah. And they're like, go for it. We're open books here.
That's
and I was
awesome.
like, yay. So they're in Spain. So for us to cultivate that relationship like Chris was talking about, it was a weird introduction the first time. I always feel like it's almost like a blind date type of situation.
Yeah.
Yeah, because once you actually finally once you pick the parents that you want to work with as a surrogate, they also send your profile to those parents. And then it's like, do they like me enough? Like, are they going to choose me too? Because it really is a collaborative effort. Like, I have to choose them and they have to choose me.
Oh my God, it's like Tinder for babies, for having babies with somebody else.
It's so crazy because I'm like, they actually are trusting me enough to do everything that I possibly can, or, they're giving all of that control over to somebody that they've never met. They've only, read my profile on a piece of paper and seen some pictures.
Sure.
So when you have that first match call, they call them match calls, the dads only speak Spanish. We only speak English. So
how did that work?
We have a translator on our
translator
app.
Oh, got it. Okay.
Translator app. Yep.
Shout out to Google Translator,
Yeah. It was just, it's a weird feeling going into it. Like, it's not a love type of relationship, but it's still a very, very, intimate relationship that you're going to be having with these parents as their surrogate. And so once you have the match call and everybody's like, yes, we want to go forward, then you schedule what's called medical clearance at whatever clinic the parents are working with that have their embryos.
Got it.
So I had to fly out to Idaho because that's where the parents from Spain had a clinic in Idaho. So,
that's not random or anything like that. Wait, you didn't even get a trip to Spain out of this? That's crazy.
Not yet. Well, Spain's borders are still closed.
Yeah, they're still closed.
Yeah, we want to go visit them, and they're always like, yes, please come. Because the twins actually turned 2 yesterday.
Wow.
And we had originally planned on going when they turned 1, but that's right when COVID, hit. So we're talking about, 2020 last year. And their borders are still closed because I wanted to go after this journey. After we were done with this last journey, we wanted to go too, but COVID.
Yeah.
I hate COVID. It's insane how much traveling you do as a surrogate, kind of, if the clinic's not close to you.
Yeah.
So that flight and that whole trip was a super quick turnaround. Like, I got to Boise at 11 o'clock at night. My appointment was at 9 o'clock the next morning, and I flew home at like 3 o'clock that next day. It was literally a 24-hour turnaround, because medical clearance is ultrasound to make sure your uterus doesn't have any glaring abnormalities, blood work, and meeting with the medical team going over medications. So the appointment itself took approximately 2 hours. And then I went to the airport and just waited, because I'm like, I have all my stuff. I have my flights in, 2 more hours, so I'll just hang out at the airport and eat, And so we did that. I was very excited, I guess you could say. It was my first journey. It was like, okay, what can I do next? How can I make this go faster? What can I do? What can I give you? How can I help? So I was calling the clinic probably 3 days later. Hey, you got our results? Like, can we go forward? Are we ready? And we're just waiting on Chris's results, because Chris didn't have to go with me to that clearance. They just sent his lab request to the hospital near us. So he just went and had his blood drawn there. And I was like, okay, like, can we go? So I had my medical clearance appointment on July 26th, and we were cleared on August 2nd.
Wow.
So it was quick. And then the next step after medical clearance is called legal, where you have a very in-depth contract between yourself as a surrogate and the intended parent.
Sure.
That contract is approximately 60 pages long, give or take.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, and they go over every eventuality that you could possibly think of.
So I have a question on that. Like, as far as the legal side is concerned, right? Yeah. I assume there's probably clauses in there about termination and stuff like that, right? And whether you can do it, or what causes that would give you the right to do it. But how much control, and this might not even actually necessarily be in the legal process, but how much control do the intended parents have over your pregnancy? And I say that in an example, like, let's say for example, right? Let's say they were Orthodox Jews, right? That wanted you to keep kosher, right? Is that something that they would ask and have control over? Or if they didn't want you to eat pork, or if they only wanted you to eat organic or stuff like that, is that all stuff that they have control over, and that all happens in that legal contract? Or do you have all the control over, what's going into your body regardless of their wishes?
Those are actually questions on intake paperwork. One of the questions is, would you be willing to eat a specific diet if the parents requested it?
Got it.
If you say no, they won't match you with parents that want you to eat a specific diet. If you say yes, then they can. That is in legal documentation. You can ask for anything in your contracts. If they want you to eat organic, if they want you to eat kosher, if they want you to eat halal, anything like that, that is always in the contract. But the thing about it is, you're not with your surrogate 24 hours a day, 7 days a week to make sure she's compliant. It's a trust thing. It really is. Surrogacy is hugely about, they trust you as a surrogate to do what you need to do and what you agreed to do.
Sure.
They can ask you for just about anything, and when you get a copy of that contract, you can take out just about anything or put any request in that you have. That's why I said, they make sure they only match you with people who have the same views as you do, because you wouldn't want to go get to the contract phase where they've already invested all this money to get you medically cleared, just to have contracts fall apart because there was a poor matching process through the agency.
Got it.
Yeah, so that is all usually taken care of before contracts even come out, because you don't want to
have any surprises in that kind of thing. Whoa, I didn't agree to this.
Right, exactly. But there's also that intent thing where, you can intend for one thing to happen, but for some reason something else comes up that this XYZ happens. Yeah, all of that is hashed out usually before contracts, but then once you get to contracts, it's legally binding. So if you as a surrogate agree to do something, say eat organic, and the parents come back and find out you're not, that's considered a breach of contract on the surrogate's part. And that there's other legal, ramifications from that. The parents can stop your compensation, for example, because you're breaching the contract. You're no longer following, what you said you were going to follow. So parents can stop compensation. And there's also what's called an escrow company that holds all the funds. That's usually independent of parents, legal, and agencies. I always tell my surrogates and my parents when they come to our agency, never, ever, I'm sorry if this pisses any agency off, but you shouldn't be doing this anyways, do not hold escrow. Do not go with an agency that holds escrow. That's a bad thing.
Where the agency is actually holding the money, you mean? I would agree.
The agency is holding, $75,000, and they're paying the surrogate because the escrow is the intermediary between parents and surrogates. So escrow pays surrogates based on, everything in that contract. And I wouldn't say a lot of times, but agencies sometimes don't always follow the contract, the letter, or don't pay when they're supposed to pay, or just take the money and run. And there's actually a giant lawsuit going on right now, a class action lawsuit against an agency owner that did that.
Oh, wow.
A couple million. So that's why I'm like, anytime, I'm an open book when it comes. I totally like to be transparent and honest. So agencies, if you come to me and you're like, oh, I'm talking to this agency, but they hold escrow, and I'm like, run.
Yeah, run the other way.
That.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like that's the same thing with anything that goes through escrow. You know what I mean? If you're like trying to close on a house and the company you're closing on, like, oh, no, don't worry, we'll keep it for safekeeping. Don't you worry about it. I'll be really worried about it.
Kids need wholesome snacks to fuel their active bodies and imaginations, like delicious soft-baked Cliff Kid Z-Bar. With energizing whole grains from organic oats and in flavors kids love, it's the perfect portable snack for blasting off to space on the swings at recess, or exploring the uncharted schoolyard with fellow adventurers. Grab a box of Cliff Kid Z-Bar snacks today, because imagination needs fuel. Learn more at cliffkid.com.
Your AC works overtime all summer, so be sure to replace your old air filters with new Filtry air filters. They recommend updating HVAC filters at least every 3 months all year round. So order your Filtry air filters today at Filtry.com. Let's clear the air.
So I can imagine. Chris, what's your relationship like with the intended parents at this point? And how involved are you? Obviously, you're there 24/7 every day to watch her and there for her to go through everything that she's going through, being pregnant and everything like that. But what's your involvement in the actual process? She mentioned that you need to go through medical clearance as well. Why do you need to, as the husband or partner, need to have that as well? Also, and then how involved are you otherwise?
I think it has to do with the support system.
Got it.
They want to make sure that while she's going through this journey, that she has a strong enough support system. So I get involved into the psychological at first. I mean, obviously there's not a whole lot of medical other than the blood test to make sure that I'm really not even sure why.
He's like, I don't know.
Well, I would assume that would maybe be because there's no diseases or anything like that maybe could be like terminal or something that could affect him being a support system or something like that. I guess that makes a little bit more sense.
Yeah.
It's called FDA testing that the husbands have to go through. They get screened for any STDs because obviously we're married.
Well, I guess that was obvious.
But still, some people may not think of those things. So.
No, I actually never would have put the two and two together with STDs. Well, before I let you, I ask you to continue about your involvement, Chris, I want to touch on this a little bit. Is there like the clause in contracts that can be asked where like you guys can't have sex with each other like during the pregnancy? Is that something that they can ask for?
Yeah.
Again, they can ask for whatever they want.
Yeah, that's right. I guess that's true, right?
You've been lucky enough that they never did.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's not true. I have to step in here because when you go through IVF, there is a period of time.
Well, I was going to get to that.
Oh, well, you take forever.
Patience.
It's not my strong suit.
Yeah, listen, it's not a lot of our strong suits. Let's be honest here.
So there is a period of time before transfer that once you start injectable medication, they ask you to abstain from sex until heartbeat confirmation. That is pretty standard in all your contracts. That is written out, but it's written as you'll follow physician orders. It's not, you can't have sex from July 1st to August 31st. Like there's nothing like that in there. It's follow physician's orders all the time.
Got it.
Because that's what you have to do. So back to your story,
it's
honey.
Pretty much, yeah, they can put in whatever they want.
Yeah.
But, we've just been lucky enough that there was never a clause other than the norm would be once she starts her hormone treatment up to viable heartbeat, you better not.
Yeah.
because then there's that test, I don't even know what it's called, where they did. Anyways.
I don't know what it's called.
Was it like a paternity test type thing to make sure that it's not...
Right.
Got it.
Typically they don't do a paternity test on pregnancy unless they have a reason to suspect that the baby is not the parents, that we didn't follow physician's orders and we did have sex and this is our baby that I'm pregnant with. If they have reason to suspect that, then they can order a paternity test. Amniocentesis, is that what you're trying to say?
Yeah.
So they would order an amnio and do a paternity test. We've never, ever come across that. Your attorney, when you get your contract, she goes through it sentence by sentence with you. That's a pretty long phone call. Because like I said, those are like 60-page contracts. But it's because she wants to make sure you understand the legal implications of the things in your contract.
Sure.
So if it came back that, we didn't follow physician's orders, we had sex and we're pregnant with our own baby, we are responsible for paying the parents back everything that they have paid up to that point.
Wow.
Everything. Agency fees, anything that they paid to the IVF clinic for me to get cleared, anything that they paid the IVF clinic for transfer, every single thing that they have paid for.
That would be an expensive, leg. That's expensive 5 minutes.
Yeah, that's true. That is an expensive 5 minutes. Listen, but you know what?
The mindset that, we gotta refrain from this for.
Go over there. Leave me out of it. Go take care of this yourself.
You better stop doing this.
That's amazing. You guys are awesome. I love talking to you guys. You guys are so fun. Yeah, so I asked that because in doing a little bit of research for this conversation, I did watch the movie Baby Mama, and that's exactly what happens. They find out that the baby is Anna Faris and Dax Shepard's baby, and not actually Tina Fey's and whatever. Because obviously that's pure reality, right? You know what I mean? But no. So how involved are you then in the process for beyond just the medical stuff, Chris? How involved are you with the intended parents? Are you in communication with them? Or is it solely in communication with the agency, solely in communication with Ashley? How involved are you on that front?
I generally don't get too involved with the IPs. I kind of take the back seat. I let her get as much of it as she can. I guess it all comes back to my own personality. I guess I don't feel that need to where I get involved into them. I just make sure that the IPs, intended parents, know that I am giving her the most support that I can.
Sure.
And that keeping her as comfortable. I try to clean the bathtub as much as I can.
Careful lie.
And
he said as much as he can.
That a couple times, or after a pillow or a pan gets thrown at me.
I've never thrown a pan. He's lying.
Listen, we've all thrown a pan, okay? It's not a
thrown a pan at a person. Let's put it that way.
But just I let this. I mean, it was our decision, but ultimately this was her decision. I want her to take the reins on how much involvement our family gets in, and so I generally take a back seat on that and just let her get as much as she can out of it. So yeah,
I have a very type A personality, so I'm just like, I got it.
Yeah.
I don't like trusting other people with things because I'm like, that's not how it's supposed to be done. Just move. I'll do it myself.
No, I dig it.
Yeah.
I dig it. Well, and what about your kids? Like, how did they respond? That's actually something that I'm really interested in. Is because obviously you've 3 kids before you even embarked on this on these 2 journeys. How did they react to it?
No.
Let me do it first.
Well, the first journey, they were really, really young. And so even though we explained it to them that, hey, mom's pregnant, but it's
not
the baby it's not your brother, it's not going to be your sister or your brother. They're kids that will go to a different parent, that they belong to other people. So our daughter was, well, okay. All right. So she knew about it, but she was 9. She didn't really whatever. She was more involved in Barbies and all that other stuff. And the boys, they were extremely young to where it was our oldest son was kind of okay. So mom's having a baby, but it's not going to be my brother or my sister. Okay. Now the second journey, there's where things got a little interesting.
I'm sure the more recent, they're a little bit older. They know a little bit more about what's going on.
And then with our daughter being like 10 and 11, her sass and her attitude just skyrocketed so much. And she's being so...
she's just like her dad.
And her mom. And express herself.
Yeah.
And she's experimenting with, if I act this way, how's other people going to react, So... It sparked up a lot of conversations.
What's the most? Well, give me the most interesting one. Give me the juiciest one of those conversations.
Here you go. This is what you wanted. This is what you wanted.
Okay, so we go to St. Louis for a family vacation pretty much every year. It's like, what we do. And we went when I was pregnant this time around. So we're talking about like last August, June. What was it, like September?
Yeah, it was
October,
cooler.
September, October-ish. And I was noticeably showing at that point because I was probably like 14, 15 weeks-ish. And it looked like I was pregnant instead of just that I needed to poop or I had too many tacos. So we're sitting there at a restaurant in Union Station. And the waiter comes up to our table and my daughter, who was 10 at the time, goes, "My mom's pregnant." And he's like, "Oh, congratulations." And my daughter's like, "But it's not my dad's."
Yeah.
And so we're all sitting there at the table, and I'm just like, and so
True story.
it was hilarious.
That's amazing.
Like, oh my God, what do I say? I don't even know what to say. Am I supposed to say something? Do I just walk away? He's like, "You guys want some water?" Like,
No.
and so I go, "No, it's not mine either. I'm a surrogate."
Yeah.
So then I explained the situation, and she loved that reaction. So that conversation happened several different times when we were to go out to eat from that point on, until we were like, okay, that's enough. That's enough. If I want somebody to know that I'm pregnant with somebody else's baby, I don't feel like having to explain that whole situation.
Sure.
So we were like,
pretty much every store or any restaurant.
Every person we were to encounter
like,
after that. My mom's pregnant.
And it's not my dad, so that's amazing. So
I love her though.
Yeah.
From medical standpoint, right? With the actual child, it's not even your egg. It's their sperm and some. In the case of the two dads, right? It's one or both of their sperms. I know some dads they both contribute, and then it's a toss up as to which one gets it. Is it your egg or is it another egg? How does that work?
So there are two types of surrogacies. There's what's called traditional surrogacy, and that's when you use the surrogate's egg.
Got it.
The other type, which what I have been, is called a gestational surrogate. So the babies are not genetically related to me or Chris at all.
There's no biological.
There's no connection.
No.
So in terms of the dads, they got an egg donor.
Got it.
Because that's another part of a third-party reproductive field is, egg donation, sperm donation.
Sure.
They got an egg donor, and the younger dad used his sperm to fertilize all the embryos.
Got it.
So it's biologic. The twins are biologically related to the one dad, and the egg donor has no contact with them whatsoever.
Got it.
Usually it's anonymous type of a situation. So, yeah, they aren't related to us at all. That's one of the things that we kind of hit home with our kiddos was, even though mom's growing the baby or the babies in case of the twins, it was, these are not our babies. They are not ours.
Yeah.
And that's something that you have to go into the whole pregnancy with that mindset. Because I always get asked, I don't think I could give up the baby that I grew. And it's one of those things where you're like, you don't go into this pregnancy thinking you're taking a baby home.
Yeah.
It's a whole different shift in your mindset where you're growing somebody else's baby.
Yeah.
So even the bonding, like during my pregnancies with my own kiddos, this is my baby, I'm taking it home. But with the surrogacy pregnancy, it's a whole different experience where you don't even really bond with the baby. It's, oh, you're kicking me, that's cool, get off my bladder. But
So you really are able to have that kind of biological switch where you actually feel different having somebody else's child in you as opposed to one that's actually related to you. You actually have that conscious switch that goes off there.
Yeah, it really is too, because it's one of those, how I explain it is when you're pregnant with your own babies, you do feel pressure to make sure you do everything well, but you're only accountable to yourself.
Sure.
When you're growing somebody else's baby, there's this internal pressure in you as a surrogate that nobody else puts on you. You do it yourself, that you feel even more responsible for getting this baby here safely.
Sure.
Your body is... You're doing this because you can, obviously, because you respond to pregnancy well. But there's this other pressure that you put on yourself where you know the stories of these parents of what they've gone through or everything that's taken them to get to this point. So you feel this insane amount of pressure that you want everything to go perfectly.
Yeah.
Because they have waited so
long,
long
of course,
to hold these babies. And like Chris said, the twin pregnancy went beautifully. It was amazing. I was only on bed rest for a week, and it was because I had one contraction during NST, and my OB's like, "You're off work," and I was like, "I didn't even feel it." Okay, but with our most recent journey, it was a traditional couple, and they had experienced heartbreak after heartbreak after heartbreak before they came to us. So much so as they had a late term stillborn.
Oh my God.
So for us, it was anytime anything even remotely went wrong, I was devastated. I'm usually in pretty good control of my emotions, where I'm good at self-reflecting. Why are you feeling this way? Let's talk to yourself about it, kind of a situation. Like, let's explore these feelings. But with this last journey, we had a couple of things, not go perfectly. Typical IVF complications, but nothing that I had experienced before. And there was one time where I even broke down crying, because I'm like, they have wanted this baby so long, nothing can go wrong. And it's not, like I said, it's not an external pressure. Nobody puts this pressure on you, but you feel super responsible, even more so than your own kiddos, to bring this baby to this world, to give to these parents who've had so much heartache.
Well, I think the what makes it so easy for that switch is the whole pre-process, where you go in for the psych valve down to the pregnancy, where it's how she's getting impregnated. It's just that's funny. The first time it took 5 people to get her pregnant.
Chris likes to joke that it only took him, one man to get me pregnant. But another time it's taken at least 2 to 3.
Yeah, it's 5 people. There was 5 people involved in the first one. So, just the whole, it's very medical. So, it's there was no real intimacy there for her to switch to that.
No, it's
natural motherhood.
Hey, have a full bladder, and I'm going to insert this catheter in your uterus, and you're going to be pregnant.
There's no intimacy or at all into it.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense. I guess that does make sense, and it was just kind of a shock to me that it really does turn off that quickly, especially with the you mentioned the bonding afterwards, and with the kicking and everything like that. It's interesting to hear that it is actually so detached, and it is so different than knowing it's your baby. I'm sure the biological connection that's in there probably also plays a role in that as well. But it's just interesting to hear. I can tell you love this. You love it.
I love it. Absolutely.
It is definitely. No matter where I go, once the if anybody asks, so at my daughter's basketball games or whatnot, the parents and that, there's always so what do you do? So what does your wife do? I said, well, my wife she works for a surrogacy company. And then that always leads into what happened. And then what we're doing right now ends up happening, where
talk about it.
Yeah. And they ask questions, and it's just.
We're always more than happy to talk about our journeys. I particularly love talking about it because it lifts that taboo on infertility.
I agree.
We have family members on Chris's side of the family who have experienced multiple miscarriages and recently had their first child via IVF, and then she found out she was pregnant organically, with their second.
That tends to happen a lot.
For some women, they just need to have that little how-to on what to do.
Yeah.
Then once they have that, once they study for what they have to do, they pass the test, and then it's like, okay, I know what to do now. So
my husband's super sensitive when it comes to IVF.
So it's just
I can tell. That's
I
awesome.
just need a nudge or a jump start.
Your body just needs a quick little, hey, here you go.
Yeah, it needs a little quick little spark plug. You know what I mean? A little some jumper cables going in there.
Yeah,
you know?
a jump start, exactly.
Oh my God! Please don't put that in the podcast.
No, I got to. It's part of it. Listen. It's Dad Hard with the podcast. Those type of jokes are part of the brand. My lead sponsor right now is a manscaping company. All that type of stuff.
Yeah.
I was going to say, speaking of ball shaving, Chris has a vasectomy scheduled for next week, which I'm super excited about.
Oh wow!
They were talking about
no more babies for this family.
They were talking about trimming down below. So.
Well, listen, I'll tell you this: if you need some good products to take care of the stuff down below, Manscaped got you covered. That's my that's the sponsor of this podcast.
I might have to use it.
Yep. Listen, I also was never a big fan of that. I just never. And if it got too crazy, then I'll take care of it. But they sent me their new ball trimmer, the electric ball trimmer, the other day. Waterproof. It's amazing. Incredible.
I don't know. He's kind of looking at me like I don't know why he's even giving me that look. It's not like he actually, trims often.
I don't know. I guess I'm just blessed with not having too much. I don't know.
I love it. Let's start talking about body.
No, that's not what we're here for.
I feel like if he expects me to trim, he should also have to.
That's exactly what my wife said. Exactly what my wife said. So I started doing it, and now they sponsor the podcast, so I have to. But so you're having a vasectomy. So no more kids for the family biologically, or does that mean you're done with surrogacy as well?
No more biological children. We knew after our youngest, his name's Colin.
Yep.
After he was born, we were like, "F this nonsense!"
We're
We're
done.
we have a funny story about how Colin was conceived.
Give it to me.
Trying to get pregnant. We were not trying to get pregnant. Our middle son was only 10 months old. And it was the middle of December, and everybody was sick. So I always joke, I'm like, we literally had sex one time that fucking month, and here's Colin. And we had, okay, so welcome to our life, America.
This is amazing.
We had this Superman cape that was like a little dress-up thing for our daughter. And apparently I tried it on, and that's all I was wearing, and that's how Colin came to the world.
That's amazing.
I think I was out snow blowing the sidewalk, and I came in, and she's wearing that, and we got Colin now.
Listen, I don't blame you. That's great. So, are you planning to continue to be a surrogate and have more pregnancies?
You are?
He's so funny. He acts like you didn't know. It's one of those things where our last journey was a little bit bumpy. Like I said, we had typical IVF complications, but not typical for me complications.
Sure.
So it was one of those things where we would have to have a sit-down, long discussion with, me and Christopher would talk about it, and I would talk to my OB about it, and probably a maternal family medicine doctor. It was just one of those. Have you ever heard of SCH, a subchorionic hematoma?
I've heard that it explained in the long, elongated version, so yes.
So I had one of those with this pregnancy, which is, like I said, typical IVF complication. SCH is pretty typical on IVF. It was my first time experiencing it. So anytime you're bleeding during pregnancy, you freak out.
Yes.
And I freaked out. I'm not going to lie. I was like, holy shit, I'm bleeding, but not just like spotting after sex. Like, I'm bleeding. I have to wear a pad, and I got put into the hospital for it.
Oh, wow. So it was that bad?
It was, anytime you're bleeding when you're pregnant, they typically want you in the hospital.
Sure. That's true.
Last point of viability type of a thing. So not only did I have an SCH, I also had what was called the low-lying placenta. So the edge of my placenta was quite close to my cervix.
My wife also.
And I had what was called an accessory lobe to my placenta. So I had the main placenta that was providing nutrients to the baby. And then I had like this little off branch of the placenta, which was actually the one close to my cervix that was creating the SCH. And so for me, it was like, I'm getting all of these things like in this pregnancy that I've never experienced before. Is this the universe saying, woman, this is enough? Or is this just IVF complications? So for us, it would definitely be a long sit-down conversation before I did a third journey, and it would have to be with like the perfect parent.
Got it.
Like, you know, so not saying all parents aren't perfect, but it's just one of those, I have certain criteria that I would go for from now on, that they would have to match those. Like I think if the dads were to approach us and be like, hey, you know, the twins are 2, we're talking about a sibling journey, that's something I would consider. Or even if the parents from the last journey were to talk about a sibling journey, I don't know. Like it would have to be a very certain set of circumstances that would get me pregnant again, I guess you would say.
Listen, you've been pregnant enough. I don't blame you at all whatsoever. You know what I mean? Yeah. What is the toll that it takes on your relationship together? Obviously it's a huge toll on your body. I'm sure there's a huge toll on Chris as well. Obviously nowhere near as much as on you, but I'm sure there's a lot of stress and stuff on Chris as well to deal with the fact that his wife is pregnant and for somebody else. You know, I'm sure there's emotions that goes in with that.
I think with the 2, they were completely different due to the pandemic.
Sure.
The pandemic definitely affected the second one a lot. The first one, I took a lot of things for granted that I didn't expect to affect her like the way they did. And so there was some conversations.
I love how he says conversations.
I don't think we ever really got into much of an argument or anything.
We don't typically argue anyway.
So I mean, it's she will say, sit, she will.
Like, we need to have a conversation.
and so I took the small things that I took for granted, maybe because I didn't think they affected her much during the first, or our kids' parents, our kids' pregnancies. And so there was a little bit of
like a learning curve.
Yeah, a learning curve and an evolution for that. And then with this pandemic, the whole pandemic for us, it benefited us so much as a family and as a couple too. I mean,
really
more time together.
Exactly. I mean, we got so involved in our kids' lives as much as we could. I mean,
which I don't think our 11-year-old appreciates now.
Well, not now, but
tough cookies. Like,
I mean, we basically pulled them out of school and homeschooled them
for
this whole year, and
wow.
then like. We when the pandemic affected the schools, we just was like, you know what, they're done. We'll just bring them home and we'll do it. And then it was where everybody was trapped inside the house for weeks, months, or whatever. You know, we went to the store, and one of us went to the store, and we got games and puzzles and coloring books and all that, and we just had family game night like every night.
That's awesome.
We would sit at the couch and watch videos, and so for that, it just made us stronger as a family. And then with everything that I learned through the first journey, I just took that, and it was actually easier for us.
Yeah,
for her, because we didn't have a choice but to become couch potatoes.
Sure, for sure.
So for her to be on bed rest when she had to, I mean, it wasn't that much of an impact.
Yeah.
And then when things were starting opening up, like for like kids' sports, I mean, we got involved into them. Like she coaches and I coach all their
wow.
So it was, how much is it that she can do while she's pregnant? Well, it was still early in the sports and everything else. I mean, with the homeschooling, it was easier because she was already home.
Yeah,
she couldn't go to work. And that because of the restrictions through the pandemic. So she took care of the kids' schooling, and then I jumped in on the days that I was off to give her a break. There was still a little bit of a learning curve there for us both. But, I mean...
for everybody.
Dynamically, it was just... the way the pandemic hit, it benefited us.
Yeah.
So...
that's great.
I mean,
Yeah, I mean, I would say our relationship personally, it doesn't change a lot. We've always been very much so. If something's not working, we need to have a conversation about it.
That's great.
You know,
Fix it, change it. Whatever.
Yeah, do whatever you need to do to make sure both parties are getting what they need. And like Chris was saying, we don't argue a lot. I mean, I don't think there's ever been an instance where we've actually like fought, like yelled at each other. But we
except for the one time you threw that pan.
Yeah, I mean, we have very complimenting personalities, except for the tub. I think that's the only time that I actually like cussed during my pregnancy with the twins. Is I was probably around 33 weeks and I was gigantic, and he was working swing shifts, and all I wanted to do was take a freaking bath. And get home, and I get home after baseball, after like this giant baseball game where I have to walk around and our kids in baseball and I have to handle, and he's at freaking work, so it must be nice. And I get home and I just wanted to take a damn bath, and it is dirty. So that's when I actually like cussed. I was like, I sent him this very, very not nice text message. I'm like, you need to learn to rinse the motherfucking tub. I am done with this situation.
Listen, I feel you. I feel you. My wife would have done the exact same thing to me, although it wouldn't have been the first time she cussed at me. So that's the difference there. No, but it's great to see how complimentary you guys are of each other, right? I'm not a relationship expert at all whatsoever, not even a little bit. I'm just a regular dude whose life changed by having a daughter, and I decided to talk to parents every week about their experiences also, so that I can learn how to be a better dad, right? That's all I am, right? But I have talked to a lot of couples, and it is phenomenal to see how supportive you are of each other, and how you can have these little tit for tats and back and forths and jokes and pokes and fun and it's all in good fun. You guys seem like you just have fun with each other and fun doing it. It's a beautiful thing to see, especially through all of these pregnancies, and you know, with having the pregnancies for other people, to see that you guys can be so supportive. I mean, you know, specifically Chris, so supportive of you to do it. You guys are really amazing people. I can't say that enough, but you guys are absolutely incredible, and the reason why you're doing this and what you do and what you're able to provide to people who can't provide it to themselves is just unbelievable. I am not that good of a person at all whatsoever. So it is phenomenal for me to see that there are amazing people in this world, and to think that it all came from the two of you not originally wanting to even have any kids.
I know, no kids for us. Yeah, and then here we are.
You guys are incredible. This is like an honor for me to have this conversation with you guys.
We're trying to do the most good where we can.
That's phenomenal.
You know, and that's really all you can do. Unfortunately, I can't make the world a better place for my kids, but I can at least hopefully have faith in there are other people like us who are trying to create a better world, and eventually we might win out.
That's all we can all hope for. But before I let you go, I do have two questions that I ask to every single guest that comes on the show. So I'm going to throw them at you. The first one is, and I'm sure you guys have a lot of these experiences, given all the pregnancies and journeys and kids and everything like that. What is your favorite thing or your favorite experience about being parents?
When you see the development that you're putting on the kids, like, and it's the little things.
Yep.
Like for instance, just recently, our youngest son can ride a bike without training wheels.
Wow, he's ahead of me then.
The work involved
He's only
in
6.
that. The work involved in that is just a big payoff. That he gets so excited when he takes his first pedal.
Yeah.
By himself, without dad hanging on to it or big brother hanging on to it. And then he can go down the street and make that U-turn and come back up. It's just like, Dad, I'm doing it.
That's awesome.
Those little things that just, that pays off for all the hardship or of the nagging and the whining.
Oh my God.
The back talk, the sass, all that just goes out the door.
Yeah. I love seeing the foundation that we've built with our kids coming back now, especially with our 11-year-old. We've always been very loving and open and emotionally available, for our kiddos, because we want to raise those kind of humans. And coming back where I'm hoping that we're putting in that foundation work with all of our kids, that after we get through those hard teenage years, they come back when they're out of the house and I don't have to discipline them, where they're gonna be good people and they're gonna enjoy being with us, and we're going to enjoy being with them. I love seeing that hard work pay off even now, where our 11-year-old, she's a preteen, so she's definitely in her room, door shut, leave me alone, I'm watching anime. But then there'll be times where she comes to our room and she's just like, Mom, can we snuggle? And I'm like, yeah, yes, every single time, yes, please come here.
All I want is my daughter to snuggle.
The one time we went to this cafe, it's a small cafe just downtown, and we go in there and we're like, okay, we're at a restaurant. You guys behave, because when we generally go to a restaurant, they're nuts.
We're a family of 5. We're not quiet.
So we go there, we sit down, and I was like, okay, sit down, order your food, and then our daughter gets up, and it's like, where are you going? And she goes, I'm going to go open the door for this elderly lady, and I'm just like, oh, now I feel like an ass.
Amazing.
Yeah.
It's amazing. But you know what? You should feel like an ass clown, and also like you succeeded, because that's because of you that she decided to do that. The last question I ask is a little bit more of a selfish question. You know, as I told you, I am using this platform to try to be the best dad that I can be. So I ask everybody for somebody behind you in the parenting process or the parenting adventure, parenting journey, whatever you want to call it. What is your biggest piece of advice that you can give?
Oh wow, you're getting patience. It's something that's. I mean, I bet you get that all the time. Patient, but it's be prepared for not being prepared.
Yeah.
Because I mean, it was not that long ago. Our daughter came, Mom, I got my period, and I'm just like, oh.
It's coming.
It's a good thing she came to Mom and not to Dad on that one, because the Dad doesn't know.
Actually, it was announced over Alexa to the whole house.
Yeah, she was. It's like that.
It goes off and it's, Mom, I got my period. Okay.
And then Mom closes her phone or the tablet or whatever and gets up and goes.
That's hilarious.
Oh.
That's amazing.
Here we go. Hang on tight. It's going to be a bumpy ride.
I think my biggest piece of advice is it's okay not to know everything.
Yeah. Absolutely.
You know, it's okay to make mistakes, because you're human and you're raising humans. And the biggest thing I think with making mistakes is own up to them. Show your kiddos that mistakes happen. They're okay. It's not the making the mistake. It's what you do after that.
Yeah. Learning experiences. Even I think it's more impact when the parents make the mistake and you explain that to the kids, because they see that, oh, Mom and Dad isn't perfect and they do make mistakes.
Yeah.
But as long as you stay true to how you fix it, they'll see that and okay, all right. So I broke I broke Mom's lamp.
Oh, so that's our biggest piece of advice is it's okay to be wrong, and make sure that you take ownership of that. Yep. And how you fix that wrongness is actually what matters.
Yeah.
Like nobody's perfect.
Yeah.
Nobody's perfect.
Yeah.
I mean, I love watching the parents after I give birth, watching them with their babies for the first time, because I remember that experience where you like pick up this tiny baby and you're like, I'm going to break this.
What am I going to do? What am I going to do? What do I do? What do I do?
And even to the latest set of parents, them holding the baby, it was like this. They're just like holding her out in front like this, and I'm like, you're not going to break her. You can snuggle her. I promise you won't break her. It was always
a long joke for me, even for our youngest son when he was born. And when you see the people that held a baby for the first time, they're so careful of that. And the first thing I'll say is, it's okay. It's all right. Even if you drop him, just make sure you pick him back up.
Pick him back up, right. I always say that every day you keep them alive, it's a day that you won the day.
Exactly.
And that's what parenting is all about at its core.
Sometimes that's all you can do is like, I kept the little ones alive.
Exactly.
What did you do today? I kept the kids alive.
I kept my kid alive. Absolutely. Guys, this has been unbelievable. 3 greens, 1 call. This is awesome. I've never had that before. This has been absolutely fantastic. You guys are absolutely incredible. Ashley, if there's anybody out there listening that is interested in learning more about surrogacy or about Nessa, how can they get involved and get connected to them?
So we have a website. We have a U.S. website. It's called Ness Agency, NESAGENCY.com. That's our U.S. link. You can go on there. My picture's on there. You can also email me. My email's on there. You can read our story. Our story is really awesome as an agency. It was founded by 2 best friends. Wow. Rachel is the one who's an experienced surrogate herself. And Ursula is, Rachel's best friend of over 20 years. And those are our 2 founders. And we are well established as a surrogacy agency in the UK. They have 38 journeys going on right now that they're supporting just in the UK. And so we just launched about 6 weeks ago in the U.S., and we signed our first intended parents a couple weeks ago.
Wow.
So it's been an amazing journey. Like, I have been so blessed with this position. It's just because I love surrogacy. I love doing it. I love everything about it. And for me as a surrogate, personally, I can only help one family at a time. But now that I'm a case manager, I can facilitate several journeys and help all these people and do all this outreach and all of this awareness. And it's something that I absolutely love. So anytime you want us back, you just let us know.
I will absolutely have you. I will absolutely have you back just to talk to you guys. You guys, the energy that is coming through this screen right now to me is just, it's so inspiring and it's so beautiful. Like, I literally have like the hair on my arms is literally standing up because it's just so incredible what you guys are doing and willing to do and willing to put yourselves through, your body, your relationship, everything, all for somebody else. It's unbelievably beautiful. You guys are, a little bit crazy, but definitely saints. Once again, I'm extremely honored to be able to talk to you guys because you are incredible people.
Well, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for having us on and giving us
it was great.
This opportunity to share our story together.
Absolutely.
I love that we can do it together because I feel like I talk a lot about it, and Chris's portion is kind of forgotten sometimes, but there's truly no way that I could have done this without him. And I absolutely adore him, and it's gonna make me cry talking about it just because I love him so much, and I love that he helps me through these things. And I can
see the love that you guys have for each other. You can see that. And listen, to do what you do, you guys have to have that love for each other, that unabashed, just all in type of a love, and not doesn't have to be that touchy feely, huggy, kissy type of love. What you guys have is incredible, and you can feel it. You can feel it just by how you guys talk about each other and the way you go back and forth. It's just been an absolute pleasure.
Well, thank you.
Thanks for having us. And,
of course.
And everything.
I'm happy to have you back anytime you want. This is awesome. This was awesome. I really appreciate it, guys, and I'll talk to you very soon. And that is all for this week's episode of Dad Hard with a Podcast. As always, to connect on a fatherhood, brotherhood, shoot us an email at dadhardpod@gmail.com. Follow us on Instagram at dadhardpod, and check out the website wedadhard.com, where this episode with a professional surrogate and her husband. What a conversation this was. It was my favorite conversation to date, and definitely the most unique and best here on Dad Hard with a Podcast. You can check out this episode. It'll be right at the top. You can check out last week's episode with Jason Martin, talking about his life lessons he's passing on to his kids. You can check out 2 episodes ago where I talk about my daughter's night terrors and keeping me up all goddamn night even though she's asleep. You can catch it all. Season 1, Season 2, and in a couple months, the start of Season 3. Like I said, that's all for us this week. Till next time, same Dad Hard time, same Dad Hard place. We're out. Peace.
Remember back in the days before you got blazed and lost in the haze. Gotta remember the good times. Remember back in the times when being just a kid was fun. Right. Remember back in the days before you had brains or cared about your ways. Remember back in the times when being just a kid was fun. Right. Ain't that the truth, man? I wish I could go back being a little kid again, man. Yes, I do. Remember them good times. Everything was free spirit and all that. I'm talking the playground. You was playing on the monkey balls or whatever. Sprinklers, hydrants going off in the street in the summertime. That home cooking.
Get 20% off and free shipping with the code DADHARD20 at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com when you use the code DADHARD20. Don't forget that you came from your dad's balls. This year, show your original home some love with Manscaped.
New hot and iced Sunrise Batch Coffee from Dunkin'. A bright and balanced, full-bodied blend brewed so you can get summering from sunrise to sunset. And even after that, because that's when you can show off those string lights you hung in the backyard. Or rehung. Enjoy a medium, hotter iced Sunrise Batch Coffee for $2. America runs on Dunkin'. Price and participation may vary. Limited time offer. Exclusions apply.
Streaming only on Peacock.
John Wayne Gacy killed 32.
Straight from the killer's mouth.
They want you to believe that I alone committed these murders.
The new gripping 6-part documentary series, John Wayne Gacy, Devil in Disguise. All episodes streaming now, only on Peacock.
Summer is here, and it's time to say goodbye to your old vacation and say hello to Camelback Resort. Stay at Camelback Lodge. The suites are all newly renovated. Splash at Aquatopia Indoor Water Park or Camel Beach Outdoor Water Park. Over 50 rides, slides, and attractions. Play at Camelback Mountain Adventures. Take the fun off-road with the new Switchback UTV tours. Just 90 minutes from New York and the Pocono Mountains. That's where we want to be this summer, at Camelback. Book your summer getaway today at camelbackresort.com.
So I still can't get over how much I just saved at Kohl's. I did a double take when I saw my receipt. The home sale deals are just that great. I got 20% off a Keurig coffee maker, 40% off cute throw pillows, and a Bissell carpet cleaner for $249.99. Plus, today only, they're giving an extra 20% off. Oh, and I got Kohl's Cash. So, yeah. You know the saying, home sweet home? More like Kohl's sweet Kohl's. Select styles, 20% offer ends July 25th. Some exclusions apply. See store or Kohl's.com for details.